Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing you can do, especially when you feel stuck, especially when you don't know what to do next. Now, I'm not talking about watching something on social media. I'm not talking about watching TV. There's a time and place for that too. Nothing wrong with that. But oftentimes that's just a distraction from being with yourself, from facing yourself. And I'm also not talking about reading something or studying something on the internet, reading some articles or studying some course. It's also good. It also has its time and place. But often that's a passive form of consumption, a passive form of distracting yourself so that it feels good because you can tell yourself you did something productive. What I mean is really doing nothing, and especially when you're stuck, especially when you don't know how to keep going. Because if you're constantly in do mode, if you're constantly doing stuff, you forget to be. What I mean is simply to sit with your emotions, to go for a walk eventually, because walking also helps you to be present if you do it without distractions, without listening to music or without listening to something, when you just allow yourself to be in the moment. And when you do, you gain more clarity. You gain more awareness. You increase your awareness of what's here now. And how does this help you? It helps you enormously because you find out what's going on inside. You find out what you think. You become aware of what you feel. You become aware of what's holding you back. Or you become aware of where you have been limiting yourself or what's no longer serving you. And this is hard to look at sometimes. And that's why we often run away from this. Especially in this society, we have so many forms and ways to escape, to distract ourselves. And with all these devices and this fast-paced generation that we live in, it's so important to just slow down sometimes and to be in the moment. And also, meditation can also be a form of distraction. When you try to reach some certain state to transcend your suffering, then you also avoid the present moment. And I talked about this in another video. Meditation is not just the seated practice. It's about being aware that you're here throughout the day, throughout your experience. And when you drift off, you come back. And that's why it's so important to do nothing sometimes and to just observe where you are. To ask yourself, what do I feel? What is going on inside of me? Because oftentimes, you have fears lingering in the back of your mind, almost like some little trolls that are trolling you. They try to control you. And they only control you by you not being aware of them. And you're so afraid to look at them because you think when you look at them, you're going to be scared. It's going to be a disaster. But it's actually the opposite. When you look at them, when you simply notice them, they start to disappear. They start to lose the power over you. So all it takes is to notice them. And this happens when you do nothing and allow yourself to just be, when you just allow yourself to observe, when you look at it. Let's say something has been stressing you out for months, but you have been scared to face it. And you're constantly doing something because you try to get somewhere, and you're completely overseeing this thing that needs your attention because you're afraid to face it. But the moment you face it, let's say it's some sort of bill that has been haunting you down, or some phone call that you need to make, some relationship issue that you've been avoiding for a long time and it's been there, and you just didn't find the courage to look at it and to ask yourself what the message is behind that feeling. But the moment you slow down, or the moment you sit with it, the moment you become aware of it, you will know what to do. You will know what it is that needs to be done. And when you do it, it will be released. This fear will be released. But the first thing is to become aware of what it is that you fear. The first thing is to become aware of what it is that's stressing you. The first thing is to become aware of where you are. And you become aware of where you are when you do nothing. And we are called human beings for a reason, not human doings. It's good to do stuff, but it's good to do it from an aligned, inspired state. When you are in spirit, when you are here with yourself again. Because you can do a lot of stuff every day and could be creating something that you don't even want for your life. You could go down a path and you're constantly in do mode, but you never realize that this is actually not serving you. And you only start realizing it when you start to slow down and do nothing. Even if you feel you're unproductive, sometimes not being productive is the best form of productivity, because after you relax and just relax into the moment, when you become aware of all this stuff, you have clarity, and then you can step out into the world again, and then you can do stuff in the right way. There's no right or wrong way, but you can do stuff in an inspired way, and you can do the stuff that's serving you and that's serving the highest good of all. And you move from inspiration again. You move with integrity again. You move in alignment with you again, with the real you, with your soul, with your soul's truth. And that's what it's about. So do nothing. Take time to do nothing. Doing is good. Action is great. Now I'm not one of these guys who says like you don't have to do anything to manifest whatever you want to have. No, that's not true. There has to be action sometimes. And actually there has to be consistent action. But sometimes the action, if it's not aligned, like I said before, you're just creating more of what you don't want. And you're actually going drifting further off of the path that you initially wanted to take, because you're just in do mode all the time. So come back to yourself, come back to your center, do nothing, and then start doing again, but from an inspired, clear state. And be willing to look at whatever it is that's blocking you or that you're afraid of. Because like I said, sometimes these are just like energetic trolls that need to be released by you looking at them. So sometimes the best thing you can do is to do nothing. So allow yourself to just be. Go for a walk, be in nature, be at home, sit in your room, and just observe. Observe where you are, observe what's going on. That being said, I hope this was helpful. I thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I'm Law Heru, and this is the Way of Law. One love.